By attacking the witness, the president continues to act guilty, Chris. The president is trying to intimidate Ambassador Yovanovitch, but guess what? It's not going to work. It didn't work when he and his allies smeared her while she was in Ukraine. It didn't work when he smeared her on the phone call with President Zelensky on July 25. And it's not working as she's sitting there testifying to us. But we are looking at this as a consciousness of guilt. Innocent people don't act this way. You only act this way if you have a knowledge of your own guilt. But I do worry that this could have a chilling effect on others who have seen wrongdoing and may not come forward because of what the president's doing.
Well, let's talk about that, because the witness in this case, though, is a strong person, a strong, I think, patriotic person, admitted that she was chilled, as word you chose, when she heard that the president was coming after her, said things are going to happen to this person. Is it your sense that the president's aware he had some influence on her, and therefore he was going to do it again? In other words, he was recidivism here, full grown. It worked once, let's do it again. Do you think there's an actual case here for an article of impeachment, obstruction of Congress generally, but intimidation of the witness particularly?
We have strong evidence of obstruction of justice through intimidating a witness and tampering with the witness's testimony. And Chris, this was the person you would want in Ukraine if you were interested in fighting corruption. She had built her career as an anti-corruption ambassador. So the fact that the president removed her was not to stop corruption in Ukraine. It was to weaponize corruption for his own personal gain. And I think the phone call that was released today, you did not hear once on the congratulatory phone call the president bring up corruption, despite his own White House lying to the American people and saying that he did discuss corruption. And you didn't hear on the July 25 phone call the president discuss corruption. He got rid of the very person who would have rooted out corruption in Ukraine to put in his people to help him personally.
Congressman, Ambassador Yovanovitch today said this. She said, our Ukraine policy has been thrown into disarray, and shady interests the world over have learned how little it takes to remove an American ambassador who does not give them what they want. It's been reported that the diplomats in the region were trying to deal with a president whose mind had been poisoned. What do you expect from the Republicans on this committee to defend a president whose mind was poisoned against Marie Yovanovitch?
Yeah, my Republican colleagues have argued that the president has a right to hire and fire whoever he wishes, and that is true to an extent. You can fire someone for a good reason. You cannot fire someone for a corrupt reason, and the evidence here is that he fired someone for a corrupt reason. Nicole, you can, fire any employee that's at will, but you can't fire them because of their race. You can't fire them because of their gender, and you certainly cannot fire them to carry out corrupt practices, as the president did.
Congressman, are you reading anything into the degree of alarm? The White House muddled through the day Tuesday. The president's allies stayed with quite petty insults, I think making fun of the witnesses' cups, drinking water bottle. Today, they went for the jugular. What threat does this witness represent to Donald Trump's presidency?
Well, she was blocking Donald Trump's intentions for Ukraine. For him to run this shakedown scheme, he could not have an anti-corruption crusader. He needed Rudy Giuliani and Ambassador Sondland and others in place to really shake down the Ukrainians to personally benefit himself. She is standing strong. George Kent, Ambassador Taylor, they stood strong. It's my hope that other witnesses continue to stand strong, come forward if they've seen something wrong, and recognize that we are going to protect them from intimidation, and doing the right thing will prevail and be rewarded.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.